Ever wonder how an underdog tank, often ridiculed, became a war-winning machine? We're talking about the M4 Sherman. Today, we're going to bust some major myths and reveal the secret weapon that made the Sherman a legend. Let's dive in. When you think of World War II tanks, what comes to mind? Probably the German Tiger, a beast of steel feared by Allied soldiers. Next to it, the American M4 Sherman looks, well, a bit underwhelming. And that's exactly what the German High Command thought. They saw a tank with thinner armor and a smaller gun, and they laughed. They fell for what I call the steel illusion. They were so focused on a one-on-one duel, a nightly joust, that they completely missed the bigger picture. For decades, the story has been the same. German tanks were better. Look at the stats, they say. The Tiger's 88mm gun could punch through a Sherman from a mile away, while the Sherman's 75mm struggled to even scratch the Tiger's thick front armor. On paper, it's a mismatch. It's like putting a middleweight boxer against a heavyweight champion. Historians and enthusiasts have been obsessed with these numbers, debating gun penetration and armor thickness for hours on end. But here's the bombshell. They were looking at the wrong stats. War isn't a game of top trumps. It's a complex, brutal symphony of chaos. And focusing only on guns and armor is like trying to understand a masterpiece by just looking at two notes. This obsession was fueled by a powerful German superiority complex. Propaganda painted their panzers, especially the Tiger and Panther, as invincible titans. German tank crews were elite, and they believed their machines were the pinnacle of engineering. They were trained to be lone hunters, seeking out glorious duels and racking up kill counts. This mindset, this belief in their inherent superiority, created a massive blind spot. They were so confident in their steel monsters that they failed to see the real threat wasn't the tank in front of them, but the 5 others they couldn't see. And let's address the elephant in the room, the nickname Ronson. You've probably heard it. It lights every time. This idea that Shermans were death traps, bursting into flames at the slightest touch, has become a powerful myth. While it's true that early models had issues with ammunition storage, which made them more vulnerable to fires, this was quickly fixed. The introduction of wet stowage surrounding the ammo racks with a water glycol mixture dramatically reduced the fire rate. In fact, by late 1944, a Sherman was statistically no more likely to burn than a German Panzer IV. The Ronson myth was a dangerous distraction, an oversimplification that has overshadowed the Sherman's true strengths for far too long. So if it wasn't the gun or the armor, what was the Sherman's secret? It was something hidden in plain sight, so common that everyone overlooked it. It was the antenna. Yes, that simple whip antenna sticking out of every single M4 Sherman. While German tank commanders had radios, the standard crew members in a Panzer, the gunner, the loader, the driver, were often left in the dark, relying on shouted commands and hand signals inside a loud, terrifying metal box. Communication was a luxury reserved for the elite. But the Americans had a different philosophy. They put a crystal-tuned radio in nearly every single Sherman tank that rolled off the assembly line. This wasn't just a command tool. It was a network. Every tank commander could talk to every other tank commander in his platoon. He could talk to his company commander. He could call for artillery strikes. He could coordinate with infantry. He could request air support. That simple antenna connected each tank to a vast invisible web of combined arms. Imagine this scenario. A lone Tiger tank ambushes a platoon of 5 Shermans. The first Sherman is knocked out. In a German platoon, this would cause chaos. But for the Americans, it's a different story. The 4 remaining Sherman commanders are all on the radio, instantly. Tiger, 2 o'clock in the woods. 1 Sherman lays down smoke to blind the Tiger. 2 others start maneuvering, flanking it from the left and right, looking for a shot at its weaker side or rear armor. The platoon leader is already on another channel, calling in precise artillery coordinates. Fire mission, grid square 4 to 7 Alpha, heavy armor, danger close. Within minutes, shells rained down on the Tiger's position. This wasn't about one Sherman beating one Tiger. It was about 5 Shermans, a battery of howitzers, and a squadron of P-47 Thunderbolts, all fighting one Tiger. The German philosophy was about creating the perfect sword. The American philosophy was about giving every soldier a walkie-talkie and teaching them to fight as one unstoppable organism. The Wehrmacht underestimated the Sherman because they couldn't see the network. They saw a simple tank, but they were facing a swarm, connected by an invisible thread of radio waves. Coordination, flexibility, and teamwork beat raw power. The Sherman wasn't designed to win a one-on-one duel. It was designed to win a war. It was a reliable, mass-produced, and brilliantly networked tool that allowed American forces to adapt, overcome, and overwhelm their opponents. The true strength of the Sherman wasn't in its steel plates, but in the voices crackling through its radio, turning individual tanks into a single cohesive and deadly force. That's the real story of how the Sherman's radio helped win the war. High-tech in the mud, the SCR-508 revolution. Let's set the scene. It's the early 1940s. Tank warfare is evolving at a terrifying pace. On one side, you have the German Panzers, feared for their tactical prowess and blitzkrieg doctrine. Their tanks often had radios, allowing for coordination. On the other side, many Allied tanks at the start of the war were essentially blind and deaf. British tank commanders were still using signal flags like ships at sea. Can you imagine trying to coordinate a complex attack while waving flags out of a hatch with shells and bullets flying everywhere? It was chaotic, inefficient, and deadly. Communication was the weakest link in the Allied armored formations. A group of powerful tanks without coordination is just a collection of individual steel coffins. This is where the American industrial and technological might stepped in and changed everything. Enter the SCR-508. When the U.S. Army began mass-producing the M4 Sherman, they made a decision that would prove to be absolutely brilliant. They decided that every single tank would be equipped with a state-of-the-art radio system. The SCR-508 wasn't just any radio. It was a marvel of its time. First and foremost, it used frequency modulation, or FM. Now we think of FM radio for listening to music, but in the 1940s, this was cutting-edge military tech. Most other military radios of the era used amplitude modulation, or AM radios were notoriously prone to static and interference. Engines, weather, other electrical equipment, they could all turn a vital command into a mess of incomprehensible noise. The FM-based SCR-508, however, was a different story. It delivered crystal clear, static-free voice communication. For the first time, tank commanders could speak to each other as if they were in the same room, even in the heart of a raging battle. The psychological impact of this cannot be overstated. Imagine the confidence of a tank crew, knowing they could instantly hear orders from their platoon leader, report enemy positions, and call for support without fighting through a wall of static. This clarity of communication was the first major advantage. It meant less confusion, fewer mistakes, and faster reactions. While German tank commanders were often struggling to decipher crackly AM signals, American tankers were having clear, concise conversations. But the genius of the SCR-508 didn't stop at FM. Its other revolutionary feature was its push-button, preset channel system. Before this, changing radio frequencies was a slow, manual process. A radio operator would have to carefully turn dials to tune into a new frequency, a task that was difficult enough in a quiet room, let alone inside a bouncing, shaking, deafeningly loud tank. The SCR-508 threw that problem out the window. It had a set of push buttons, each of which could be pre-tuned to a specific frequency. A tank commander could switch from his platoon's channel to the company command channel, or even to a channel for coordinating with artillery or air support with a single simple push of a button. Think about the tactical flexibility this provided. A platoon of Shermans could advance on their own net. If the lead tank spotted a hidden anti-tank gun, The commander could instantly switch to the company net to warn everyone. He could then jump to the artillery net to call in a fire mission on the gun's position. This could all happen in seconds. For the Germans, this kind of multi-level coordination was much slower and more cumbersome. The American system allowed for a fluid, dynamic battlefield command structure that the enemy simply couldn't match. Every Sherman tank, in essence, became a mobile command post, able to talk to anyone it needed to, instantly. This created a network of information that was incredibly resilient and responsive. This leads us to the American doctrine of standardization. The decision to equip every tank with this powerful radio was a masterstroke. Unlike other armies where only command tanks might have powerful long-range radios, the US Army believed in universal communication. So we have a radio that's clear, easy to use, and installed in every tank. But there's one more crucial piece to this puzzle: maintenance. A high-tech radio is useless if it's broken. And battlefields are notoriously rough on delicate equipment. This is where American logistics and engineering shone. The SCR-508 was designed to be rugged. But more importantly, the US Army's maintenance and supply chain was second to none. The radios were built with a modular design. If a component failed, a technician didn't have to be a master electrician to fix it. They could simply identify the broken module, pull it out, and plug in a new one. This plug-and-play approach meant repairs could be done quickly, often right on the front lines. Spare parts were plentiful. The Army's logistics system, the famous Red Ball Express, ensured that everything from fuel and ammunition to spare radio tubes and crystals were always moving towards the front. So, while a German radio might be down for days waiting for a specialized technician or a rare part, an American radio was often back online in hours, if not minutes. This reliability meant that the communication advantage was consistent. The invisible thread never broke. American commanders could rely on their ability to command, and soldiers could rely on their ability to communicate, day in and day out. When you put all of these pieces together, the picture becomes clear. The SCR-508 radio gave American armored forces a significant and often decisive tactical advantage. They could coordinate attacks with a speed and precision their opponents could only dream of. They could react to threats instantly, mass their firepower where it was needed most, and support each other seamlessly. While German tank aces and their superior Tigers and Panthers might win individual duels, they were often fighting blind. They were powerful individuals in a fight against a coordinated team. And in warfare, teamwork, enabled by clear and reliable communication, almost always triumphs. The Sherman tank is often criticized, sometimes fairly, for its gun and armor when compared to the late-war German heavy tanks. But warfare isn't a simple game of rock, paper, scissors based on vehicle stats. It's a complex dance of maneuver, information, and coordination. And in that dance, the Sherman, thanks to its incredible radio, was a far more graceful and effective partner. The SCR-508 allowed a group of good enough tanks to consistently defeat small numbers of superior tanks by outthinking, outmaneuvering, and outcoordinating them. It was the brain that guided the brawn. The invisible thread of communication that bound them together turned a collection of tanks into a truly unified and deadly fighting force, proving that in the end, the ability to talk to each other was the most powerful weapon of all. So next time you see a picture of a Sherman tank, look past the cannon and the steel plates. Remember the invisible network that connected it to every other tank on the battlefield. That was the real secret weapon, the high-tech hero that hummed silently inside, winning battles and ultimately helping to win the war. The tactical symphony, calling for the gods of war. Let's start with the big guns. Artillery was known as the god of war for a reason. Its power to obliterate enemy positions was unmatched. But pointing that godlike power in the right direction was the real challenge. Before advanced radios, a tank commander who spotted a target would have to send a runner, use signal flags, or find a landline. This took precious minutes, time the enemy could use to move or dig in. The Sherman changed all that. With its SCR 508 radio, a tank commander had a direct line to the artillery. He could see a German anti-tank gun hidden in a farmhouse, grab his microphone, and within seconds, have the coordinates relayed to a fire direction center miles away. This created a tactical symphony. Tanks were the eyes, and the artillery were the hammers, all conducted by the invisible hand of radio waves. A German soldier once said you could always tell when the Americans were coming, because the artillery would start falling, walking its way right toward your position with terrifying accuracy. That was the power of the direct line. One of the deadliest tactics this coordination unlocked was called time on target. Imagine not just one artillery shell hitting a target, but dozens, or even hundreds, all at the exact same second. That's time on target. It was a deadly form of math made possible by radio. Artillery batteries spread out over a wide area would all receive the same target coordinates. Using precise calculations for distance and shell flight time, each gun would fire at a slightly different moment. The result? A single, earth-shattering explosion that caught the enemy completely by surprise, with no time to take cover. An infantryman on the ground or a Sherman commander could call for this, and the radios would ensure every gun crew, no matter how far apart, was on the same page. This was a level of coordinated firepower that was simply impossible without instant, reliable communication. It wasn't just about having big guns. It was about making them all sing the same deadly song at the same exact moment. But the symphony didn't stop on the ground. Look up, and you'd see another crucial player, the P-47 Thunderbolt, a flying tank armed with rockets and machine guns. And guess what? They were listening to the same tune. Pilots in their cockpits could talk directly to the Sherman commanders on the ground. A tank crew pinned down by enemy armor could look up, see a friendly fighter, and literally talk them onto the target. Thunderbolt, this is Sherman lead. See the tree line at 2 o'clock? There's a Tiger tank hiding there. The pilot could then confirm the target and roll in for an attack. This real-time close air support was revolutionary. German forces had nothing comparable. Their pilots and tankers operated in separate worlds. For the Allies, the tank and the fighter plane became a seamless team, connected by that invisible radio thread. This turned every Sherman into a potential forward air controller, bringing the wrath of the Air Force down on any target it couldn't handle on its own. Now let's talk about the big cats, the German Tiger and Panther tanks. On a one-on-one basis, their thick armor and powerful guns often outmatched the Sherman. So how did the Sherman win? They didn't fight fair. They used their numbers and their radios to become a wolf pack. While a German tank commander often felt isolated, relying on hand signals or shouting to his other tanks, every Sherman in a platoon was connected. A single Sherman might spot a Tiger. Instead of engaging it alone and likely losing, the commander would get on the radio. Tiger, sector grid 49er. Approaching from the west. Instantly, every other Sherman in the area knew the threat and its location. They could swarm it, hitting it from the sides and rear where its armor was weaker. While the Tiger was focused on one target, another 2 Shermans would be maneuvering for a killing shot. This tactic of swarming, of using superior numbers and coordination, was the Sherman's ace in the hole. The radio turned a group of individual tanks into a single, intelligent hunting pack. Ultimately, it all came down to the speed of information. The German Blitzkrieg, the lightning war that conquered Europe, was built on speed and surprise. But by 1944, the Allies had beaten them at their own game, not with faster tanks, but with faster information. A German commander's orders might take hours to filter down the chain of command. An American commander's orders were instantaneous. If a situation changed, if a new threat appeared, or if a new opportunity opened up, the entire Allied force could adapt in minutes, not hours. A platoon could be redirected, artillery could be shifted, and air support could be scrambled, all with a few words over the radio. This incredible flexibility and speed of reaction completely outpaced the German command structure. The invisible threat of radio communication allowed the Allies to think faster, move faster, and strike faster. The Sherman's gun could destroy a target, but its radio could win the entire battle before the enemy even knew what was happening. It's a powerful reminder that in warfare, the flow of information can be just as decisive as the flow of ammunition. The cost of arrogance. Why Germany didn't upgrade in time. Picture this, a German Panzer division, a fearsome collection of steel beasts. But on the inside, most of these tanks were deaf and mute. Communication was a messy affair of hand signals and signal flags. Just like in World War I, only the platoon or company commander's tank had a decent radio to talk to higher-ups. For the rest of the crew, it was radio silence. They were islands of steel, fighting powerful but isolated battles. This was Germany's great blind spot. They built incredible tanks but forgot to let them talk to each other. Their military doctrine was so focused on top-down command that they never imagined the power of a truly connected fighting force. They simply couldn't see it coming. So what was the magic inside the Sherman? It boiled down to a crucial technological choice: AM versus FM. German tanks used AM radios. Now, if you've ever tried to tune an AM station in a thunderstorm, you know how much static and interference you get. The engine noise, the rattling of the tracks, the roar of cannon fire, all of it turned their communications into a garbled mess. It was unreliable when it mattered most. The Americans, on the other hand, went all in on FM radio technology for their tanks. The SCR-508 radio set, standard in most Shermans, was a game changer. FM, or frequency modulation, is naturally resistant to static and interference. It provided crystal clear, reliable voice communication, even in the heart of a chaotic battle. This wasn't just a minor upgrade. It was a quantum leap. While German tankers struggled to hear orders through a wall of static, American crews could chat and coordinate as if they were in the same room. This technical gap created a massive difference in battlefield tactics. The German command structure was rigid and hierarchical. An order came from the top, trickled down to the company commander, who then had to somehow signal his other tanks. If the commander's tank was knocked out, the rest of the platoon was often left directionless, fighting as individuals. They were powerful, but they fought alone. Contrast this with the Americans. Every Sherman commander could talk to every other Sherman commander in his platoon, and even to the company commander. This created a fluid, adaptable, and decentralized fighting unit. They could react to threats in real time, call out enemy positions, coordinate flanking maneuvers, and cover for each other. If one tank spotted a hidden anti-tank gun, a quick call on the radio warned everyone else. A group of 5 Shermans wasn't just 5 individual tanks. It was a single thinking, 5-headed dragon. This platoon net was the Sherman's true secret weapon. It allowed them to swarm, outmaneuver, and overwhelm the technically superior but isolated German panzers. You might be thinking, surely the Germans captured a Sherman and figured this out, right? They did. They captured plenty of Shermans, sometimes intact. They studied the armor, the gun, the engine, everything they considered important. They tested the 75mm cannon and concluded it was inferior to their own. They saw the relatively thin armor and dismissed the tank as a Ronson because it tended to catch fire. But the radio? They completely missed the forest for the trees. To the German engineers and intelligence officers, the radio was just an accessory, a secondary piece of equipment. They cataloged it, noted its frequency range, and moved on. They never grasped the tactical doctrine it enabled. They saw a simple tank, but they failed to see the network. Their own rigid mindset prevented them from understanding the revolutionary concept of a fully interconnected tank platoon. The most important feature of the Sherman was staring them right in the face, and they were blind to it. This blindness was part of a much larger intelligence failure. The Third Reich consistently underestimated America's industrial might, especially in the field of consumer and industrial electronics. Before the war, companies like Galvan Manufacturing which would later become Motorola, were mass-producing millions of car radios. This wasn't military-grade, top-secret tech. It was everyday technology. When the war started, the US simply pivoted this massive industrial base to produce rugged, reliable military radios. They could churn out tens of thousands of these high-quality FM sets. Germany, on the other hand, had a more specialized, almost craft-based electronics industry. They could produce excellent, high-end equipment, but not on the same massive scale. They fundamentally misjudged America's ability to turn car radio factories into war-winning arsenals. They thought in terms of steel and horsepower, not silicon and radio waves. Ultimately, it all came down to a fatal dose of arrogance. By 1943 and 1944, German field commanders were screaming for better communication. They saw firsthand how American tank units fought with a terrifying level of coordination. They knew they had a problem. But back in Berlin, the high command was slow to react. They were invested in the myth of their own technological superiority. Admitting that the Americans had a better system for something as simple as a radio was a blow to their pride. Resources were poured into developing bigger tanks like the Tiger II, or wonder weapons like the V2 rocket. Upgrading the radios in thousands of existing Panzers was seen as a low-priority, logistical nightmare. They believed that superior firepower and armor would always win the day. They were wrong. By the time they started to seriously consider upgrading their tank communication systems, it was far too late. The war was already lost, not just by shells and bombs, but by the silent, invisible waves of FM radio that tied the Allied forces together. The Sherman's radio proves that in war, the best weapon isn't always the one that makes the loudest bang. Sometimes, it's the one that lets you whisper a plan to a friend. The silent victor, the legacy of the radio tank. You've probably heard the stories. The Sherman versus the German Tiger or Panther. On paper, it looks like a mismatch. The German tanks had thicker armor and more powerful guns. So how did Allied armored divisions consistently outmaneuver and defeat superior German forces? The answer crackles through the airwaves. While German engineering focused on creating fortress-like tanks, the Americans had a different philosophy, one built on communication and coordination. Almost every single Sherman tank that rolled off the assembly line was equipped with a crystal-clear, reliable two-way radio. This might sound standard today, but in the 1940s, it was revolutionary. Think about it. A German tank commander, often isolated in a steel beast, might only be able to communicate with nearby tanks using hand signals or flags, especially if he wasn't a platoon leader. His view of the battlefield was limited to what he could see through a tiny periscope. He was powerful, but he was also blind and deaf to the bigger picture. Now, picture an American Sherman platoon. 5 tanks, all linked by a constant stream of radio chatter. The platoon leader could instantly direct his tanks, report enemy positions, and call for support. If one Sherman spotted a hidden anti-tank gun, he could warn the others in a split second. Tiger, 2 o'clock, behind the farmhouse. That one sentence, broadcast across the net, could save the entire platoon. This created a level of tactical flexibility the Germans simply couldn't match. A group of Shermans could work together like a pack of wolves, flanking, suppressing, and overwhelming a single, more powerful but isolated opponent. They could coordinate with artillery, requesting fire missions with pinpoint accuracy. They could call in air support from fighter bombers to eliminate threats they couldn't handle alone. The Shermans weren't just 5 individual tanks. They were a single intelligent, 5-headed fighting machine connected by an invisible thread. This advantage was the direct result of a massive, often overlooked effort. The U.S. Army Signal Corps worked tirelessly to build this incredible communication network. These were the unsung heroes behind the front lines. They weren't just handing out radios. They were training thousands of operators, maintaining complex equipment in the harshest conditions, and developing the procedures and protocols that made this network so effective. technicians and radio operators were as crucial as the tank gunners and drivers. They braved enemy fire to repair damaged antennas and ran miles of cable to connect command posts. They ensured that when a tank commander pressed his transmit button, his voice was heard loud and clear. Their dedication turned a simple piece of technology into a war-winning weapon. Without the signal cores, the Sherman's radio would have just been a heavy box of wires. This doctrine of networked warfare didn't end in 1945. It was the birth of what modern militaries call network-centric warfare. The idea that a shared, real-time understanding of the battlefield gives you a decisive advantage is the foundation of modern military strategy. Every drone, satellite, soldier, and vehicle communicating in a seamless web owes its conceptual origin to those pioneering radio networks in the Sherman tanks. The American military learned a powerful lesson in the fields of France. A well-connected force is a more lethal force. So when we look back at the Sherman, it's easy to get caught up in the debate about its gun or its armor. But that misses the point. The Sherman's greatest strength wasn't its ability to win a one-on-one duel. Its strength was its ability to avoid that duel altogether, to use superior information and coordination to fight on its own terms. It proved that winning isn't always about having the biggest gun. It's about having the smartest team. The radio allowed the Allies to bring their full combined arms power, artillery, air power, and infantry to bear on any single point, creating localized superiority wherever it was needed. The lessons from the Sherman's radio are more relevant today than ever, not just in warfare, but in any field. Communication is still king. A team that communicates effectively will almost always outperform a group of more talented but disconnected individuals. Whether in business, sports, or emergency response, the ability to share information quickly and clearly is the key to success. It allows for rapid adaptation, better decision-making, and a unity of effort that can overcome incredible challenges. In the end, the history of the Sherman tank teaches us a profound lesson. The most dangerous weapon is often the one you can't see. It's not always the loudest explosion or the thickest armor that decides the outcome. Sometimes it's the quiet, invisible thread of communication, linking individuals together into something far greater than the sum of their parts. That was the true secret of the Sherman, and it's a legacy that continues to shape our world. Thanks for watching. If you found this look into military history interesting, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the technology and tactics that changed the world. Let me know in the comments what other unsung military innovations you'd like to see covered. See you in the next one.